Blog Talk Radio.
Please take all the necessary precautions to protect your Constitution while listening to this broadcast. 3, 2, 1. Coming to you live via the internet. It's time for Rage Against the Regime. Let's get ready to rumble! Finally, a show for patriots, defending the Constitution and uncovering the truth at every turn, bringing you exclusive interviews and covering the topics the mainstream media doesn't dare to touch. Call in and join the discussion at 929-477-3565. That's 929-477-3565. And now, here are your hosts, Bobby Who's the Man and Becky Williams. Rage Against the Regime.
I'm the man, I'm the man, I'm the man. Yes, I am, yes, I am, yes, I am. I'm the man, I'm the man, I'm the man. Wow. It's a great day in Texas. This is Becky Williams. I'm your host on Rage Against the Regime tonight. Bobby Ritter will not be joining us, but I have some very exciting guests. I have some gentlemen who are with the Red, White, and Blue event, the program that they're putting together to take America back. I would like to welcome tonight our guest. Steve, would you introduce yourself, please?
Sure. My name is Steve Franca, and basically am trying to produce a National Patriot Rally, which is, as far as we can see, probably the only teaching event this year to show people what to do and how to do it in order to hold politicians and bureaucrats accountable to their oaths of office, and then also accountable for the crimes that they commit in addition to breaking their oath of office. So it all sort of was born out of getting heavily involved with truckers and bikers doing the rides into D.C. and other parts of the country, and also going to different patriot rallies around the country and just observing and seeing what was going on, and everyone was saying, well, the rides and the rallies are great, but it doesn't seem like it's changing anything, so what can we really do? And then out of Truckers' Ride for the Constitution, which was started by Zeta Andrews and Earl Conlon, basically started a group called Constitutional Patriots, and the idea was born for Red, White, and Blue, which would be a teaching event to show people what to do and how to do it.
Wow,
so that's it in a nutshell.
Well, I understand that you have some gentlemen who are working diligently with you. I happen to have two of those gentlemen on the line. Rick, if you wouldn't mind, introduce yourself to the listeners, and what is your part in the Red, White, and Blue movement?
Hey, Ms. Becky, this is Rick Strelo, also known as Stray Dog on the internet. I've just been helping promote the deal, and I was part of the Operation American Spring, which they're using some of the lessons learned from the Operation OAS there, and I also help admin the Texas Revolution page. We got seven regional pages here in Texas, which is part of a bigger network of the New American Revolution, which covers, we got a revolution page for each state, and we're working that way, and we've helped out with the truckers and the bikers and the veterans, everybody getting to D.C. I am also an admin on the support the Texas bikers to D.C., which we'll help out in the rest areas and that type of stuff, and make sure everybody's got some drink and that type of stuff as they come through Texas. And I'm an admin on the Lone Star Statement, and I just started at the first of the year. I decided to start We the People United, which I'm trying to unite all the alike organizations, because there's so many organizations out there, or so many web pages or sites, Facebook pages that have similar ideas, and I'm trying to get all of us to unite instead of divide, because that divide and conquer has just been kicking our tail.
I agree, brother. You know, I was thinking about that today when I woke up from one of my power naps. It's almost an oxymoron to say that we're organized groups. We're not. There's so many groups, so many pages out there. Everybody seems to have the same goal in mind, which is to wake Americans up. There's so much frustration. I believe that if we could guide everybody over to the same page, just get everybody on the same page, have them focus on that one page, we could then begin to organize and unite, whether it's on a website or it's on social media. It needs to be organized in that manner, in my opinion. We're too all over the place. The algorithm has been changed by Facebook. They dictate who sees what. We are really being stunted by a controlling figure, government, if you will, NSA, Facebook, and the Nazis, as to they keep us disorganized, essentially. So in my opinion, if we could get everybody on the same page, literally, and get everybody working together in that forward direction, I believe that we could effectively organize across this country in every state.
Well, yes, ma'am.
And that's just. Go ahead, brother.
That's what the Red, White, and Blue Fest is. We're trying to do with that. We're trying to get a lot of the leaders to come there and take some of the lessons, classes, and the teachings that's going to be taught, and then bring it back to the state level. And the Red, White, and Blue, I've been calling it the multi-event because it's more than one event throughout the years, and it's going to culminate on the 9/11/2016 with the 2 million bikers to D.C.
Well, 2015 will be our first one shot in.
Yeah, we'll be doing the 2 million bikers to D.C. will also be in the 2015, but in 2016 is the big plan is what we're looking for. But again, when we meet in May, we're going to talk about all of that and discuss the best ways to go.
Well, I can appreciate your enthusiasm, sir, but I do believe that 2016 is a long shot, simply because with the research that we have had intel come out of, and I have many teams out there that research particular subject matter, I do not believe that we're going to make it out of 2015 without blood in our streets.
I pray you're wrong, but I feel you. I know where you're coming from, and I mean we're trying to do this is without any bloodshed, as civilized as we can, and they just don't want to listen to us up there in Washington.
Exactly right.
Well, you're correct
one
on
of the
that.
keys.
I've got Scott Forello on the line, and Scott's come to the show tonight to join me and co-host with me. Scott, what's your input on that, brother?
Well, things like the American Spring and the Million Biker Ride and all that, it looks good, it's impressive, but first off, the media doesn't cover it, so nobody really knows about it unless you're on Facebook and you're following it. And the first thing they tell you to do at these rallies is don't bring any guns. They tell you leave your guns home. Now, I know that's all well and good, and they're trying to avoid, controversy or something. But during the First Revolution, if people would have just been holding up signs, saying impeach now, and hell no, we won't go, nothing would have gotten accomplished. You have a Second Amendment, you have a right to bear arms. And if you're not going to go to one of these rallies with the Constitution on your side and saying, I don't care what their laws are, this is the Constitution, that's the time to stand up, is then. And it had absolutely no effect, and they're all sitting up there in their ivory tower laughing their ass off.
Well, they're depending on us to be powerful because we lay claim to a Constitution that has been completely decimated. The problem being is most people they can't be bothered to read in its entirety and to use a dictionary that they can decipher the legalese with, the documents of not only the organic Constitution, the original Constitution, forget the decimated one, the Bill of Rights, Declaration of Independence, but their own state documents. Many people out there don't even realize they have their own state documents. And those are the ones you need to hold closest to because the federal Constitution that everybody wants to cry about is no longer your Constitution. It does not serve purpose to the people. It serves purpose to the thugs that have taken over and are overrunning not just this country but the entire globe with their agenda, and they have implemented their plan with precision. It is unfolding across the globe. I mean, if you pay attention to what's going on in the UK, it is exact, mirrored, parallel to the T with their Prime Minister being their Barack Hussein Obama. Period. Their agenda, the taking over of the caliphate being established, fatwa, the Muslims, the foot soldiers that they're using are in place, and we're in a whole lot of trouble. And this is why I'm saying what I'm saying about, the enthusiasm for 2016, although admirable, I don't see that as a reality. We're going to have to do something. We're going to have to do it quick. We've got Jade Helm that's already in operation. We were told it wouldn't start until June. We have the Army moving their central location into the missile bunkers. We know that Obama has taken down the missile defense system 4 years ago on the southwestern quadrant of America. Jade Helm is being held in the southwestern quadrant of America. The border was opened up on that same southwestern quadrant. And so what we see here is that that's a wide open border. Many countries are pouring through. The terrorists are already here. ISIS has set themselves in place along with Hamas and Boko Haram and Kazan and Al-Qaeda. They're all here in America, folks. They're already here. If you think they're not, it's because you've been asleep and haven't paid attention. They're here, and they have a political foothold. One of their own is sitting as POTUS in our government, is being overrun with it, or Department of Homeland Security, many of the alphabet agencies, the DOJ, the Black Panthers. I mean, the list is so long. And we are now considered the targets as terrorists in this country. Joel is also joining us. Joel, say hi to the listeners and state your position, sir, with the Red, White, and Blue movement.
This is Joel Gardner. I am the Libertarian candidate for Texas House of Representatives, so the coordinator for Open Carry, Texas, and Smith County, and I'm an activist for all things liberty. I'm not really that much involved in the red, white, and blue thing, but I am supportive of everything liberty, and pretty much had it with the government.
Well, thank you, sir, for stepping up to the plate and painting a target on your own forehead. I know I did when I stepped up to run for governor on a platform of secession. A couple of government thugs paid me a visit in early August and told me, this is a quote, it would be in my best interest to cease my pursuance to secede Texas. And that was at my home. And
really? Because I have the same thing on my platform, too.
Well, you'll probably get a little visit as well. They locked me out of Twitter account, emails, shut me down on our website. We launched on 2 servers. It was removed literally within a matter of a minute, both the fundraiser and the website for my campaign. They shut me down before I could even blink an eye after the visit. So they made sure that, I didn't have a prayer in hell at getting out to the public and being a successful runner. But at the end of the day, I still secured over 280,000 votes. So I made a difference somewhere by running underground and using social networking and having the backing of folks in all 50 states, even though they couldn't vote here. We had committees across the country that were pushing me through social media and Blog Talk networking. So, but that, you know what that meant to me, Joel? That meant that I was actually considered a threat by the government. That was almost an honor to have them show up and give me grief. You know what I mean?
Well, if you're not drawing back, you're not near the target.
That's a fact.
Exactly
well,
right.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. We have a lot of callers tonight. I see you guys have done some of your promoting that I asked you to do so that your your camps know that you're on, and we can get this word out. Tell me what location and what day we're supposed to meet in May.
Okay, we're going to be in Sunny Hills, Florida, which is in the Panhandle, north of Panama City. And it's about 40 minutes north of Panama City. It'll be May 1st through the 3rd. And the key strategy is the founders knew that this day was coming. So this would be no surprise to them, although a lot of the people that are sleeping at the switch out here today think it's all some big overwhelming new thing. But the founders knew it was coming, and they provided the means for us to try to head off the pass at basically going in an act of war against our own government to reset things. So what we need to do is learn how to build cases in common law and statutory law so that people can prosecute the politicians and the bureaucrats and the power brokers too, because most people are mistakenly thinking that it's the politicians that are controlling everything, but it's really the power brokers behind them, because when the politicians step over a line that affects the policy that the power brokers need to get what they want, then if phone calls go out and families get threatened and the politicians get threatened, and then that's how you see people change radically on their positions almost overnight. You wonder, well, why aren't the Republicans doing what they said they were going to do? Well, because they get phone calls saying that your grandchildren are going to die if you keep doing what you're doing. So we need to be able to go in and prosecute these people. And if that doesn't work, then it's time to take up arms. But to honor the founders and their foresight and their intelligence in seeing that what was coming down the street, we should go at it from the legal means first, see if that works, and if that doesn't, then look out, then it's time to take up the arms. But common law is the powerhouse for the people, because the common law is based on fairness to the people, whereas statutory law results out of the illegal incorporation of America in 1871. The statutory courts were set up in order to basically fundraise for the incorporated United States and also to control the people. So that's why you see all of these laws, the permitting, every kind of certificate that you need to do any little thing. It's all resulting from that incorporation and the corporation needing to have as much money as they could get their hands on to do all the nefarious things that we see going on around us. So you compare the common law to statutory law, and a basic way of understanding the difference, say I was caught speeding at 90 miles an hour, and that's way over any speed limit, except in some parts of the country. But say I was in a 35 mile an hour speed limit zone, I was doing 90, and I get pulled over and I have to get a ticket, and then I go to court to fight it. Now, in the statutory court, your Honor is going to go, are you crazy going 90 miles an hour? You get $2,000 fine, 2 weeks in jail, 2 years of public service, and your license is suspended for 5 years. You go into the common law court, Your Honor, I know I was doing 90 miles an hour, but there was no one was injured, and there was no damage to property, and the judge goes, case dismissed. That's the difference between common law and statutory law, sort of in a nutshell. So the one thing that gives us hope is that, everyone says, oh, well, all the courts are corrupted now. But Larry Klayman and Charlie and Mary Strange just won their case against the NSA for the phone spying and illegally going on their computer remotely and taking information off of it. So there are courts where you can still get fairness, and Larry Klayman showed that with the Strange family. So there is hope out there in the statutory court system, but the real power, as I said before, is with the common law courts. And what we're going to do is train people how to build a case in common law and also statutory law. And you have to have hard evidence. You can't just make a lot of claims. You got to collect your evidence and properly build a case. And then you go to prosecute. First, you issue an affidavit against the person that you're claiming has done whatever thing's illegal. And once the affidavit is out there, then you proceed on to the court case. So both common law and statutory law are means that we're going to use, because we really should come at them from every angle, because that's what they're doing to us. They're giving us every kind of distraction from every angle you can think of, and we're going to hit them right back with the same thing. So, common law, statutory law, and then you have Charles Kaplowitz doing countermands, which is showing the states how they can countermand unconstitutional laws. And then you also have people working on the Article 5 Convention. But my thought there is the politicians and the power brokers disregard the Constitution anyway. So even if you make an amendment, it's still like, they've shown no regard for the Constitution and the amendments anyway. So what difference is it going to make if you make another amendment? But it's still something that throws them off. That they have to worry about what's going on with that. So we'll come at them from every angle we can. So
well,
that's the main purpose of Red, White, and Blue.
I can appreciate what you say, but I'm gonna ask you about a couple of different things here.
All right.
Well, first I'm gonna make a statement, then I'm gonna ask you about something that just recently happened here in Texas, and I think Joel is probably privy to what I'm about to say. We had
with the Texas?
First, we have a situation where in the statutory courts we don't know who's good and who's not, and so far
right.
and in between, it's like it would be like trying to hit the bullseye on a target with a blindfold on in the dark.
Right.
So you never know. It's a never know situation. But we had a situation recently here in Texas where the FBI came in and raided an organization that had filed for a common law warrant against a judge. And so we want to be very careful not to put ourselves in that same situation again. Joe, are you familiar with the incident?
Yes, that wasn't just the FBI. It was the local police, the sheriffs, and Dan Paxton's minions. The state of Texas was in on that, too.
That's pretty disheartening. I mean, nothing solidifies the fact that the local and state government is a part of the agenda, if you will.
Right, exactly. And that's why we're doing Red, White, Blue Fest, because there needs to be a lot of training for people to do these things. There's a very precise process and also very precise wording that you have to use when you go into court. And one of our experts is Roger Widener, who was a prosecutor for the state of Oregon, and he saw how corrupt the judges in the court system was. So he became a defender and then spent years writing a manual on how to deal with corrupt judges and court systems. And Roger stresses with me, you got to have the exact wording and the exact process.
Well, and that's how they've used legalese as trickery, and that's another reason that our founding fathers said that no position of royalty could hold office, and we have the majority of the individuals that are holding position in the fiat government have law degrees behind them.
Right.
And they can manipulate law and use the legalese against the people. So semantics is everything. I agree. We have a young lady on the line who is versed in those areas. Libby, I do believe that's you at 870. I've opened up your mic. Is this Libby or Keith?
I don't know. What's the hear me?
It's Keith. Keith, can you address some of the issues and the things that Steve has just mentioned concerning common law and statutory law and constitutional law?
Sure. Let's start with the fact that here in the state of Iowa, under the Penal Code 660, If you look in each county or each state, it'll have a little bit different. In states, you don't even need a driver's license. Nowhere in the country does it say any law that says you have to have a driver's license to drive, as long as it's private vehicle. Okay? Now, let's start with another one. You went to court. You tried to fight it. Let me ask you a question. You went to criminal court to tell you who was bodily injured? No, because there was no bodily injury. So why am I doing criminal court? So that meant I had to go civil court. And the only way a civil court, the only person that can hear my case under civil court by their law is the Secretary of the Department of Transportation. So whenever he has time, I'll be happy to hear my case. And let's take it one step farther. When you brought up a couple of points, Becky did. Your judge and your prosecutor aren't even citizens of this country. Under the law's 13th Amendment, they have a word after the name called Esquire. And the only thing they are is counsel to the Queen. Okay? So what are they doing trying to represent you, and what is the judge doing on the case if he's not even a legal immigrant of this country? Okay?
Right, they don't
this is the thing we have to understand. We have to,
the state.
You have to learn all their tricks. Now, can I back up and make a comment to you otherwise real quick? I also hear one of your, and this is some information otherwise I know, Becky, that one of your head honchos lost their car the other day in a car accident, a 5-car accident for the red, white, and blue.
No,
you know about
what was that again?
I say one of your, a lady that's part of the red, white, and blue lost her car the other day in a car accident.
I'm not familiar with who you're talking about. I know that Zeta Andrews' car was, items were stolen out of her car while she was getting gas this morning, but that's the only one
anyway,
I know of.
I have a friend of mine that you guys are also supporting by the name of Roger Nichols through the Unity Party. That's why he was the one that's telling me about that this morning. Okay?
Right.
So, anything else you want me to get into, Becky? I mean, because the common law court is the highest court in the land. And when the person comes in and says that they're what they did, every one of those people can be charged with treason because of the fact that common law is over statutory law. And that under the law, they have to allow an actual courtroom to be used for common law anywhere in every city and county and the whole works. If not, the whole thing is they're all up for treason right away. No questions asked.
Right, very specific wording and process that you need to institute the common law court within the statutory court system just because they took over illegally and people aren't aware. And, you know, you can catch them at their own game if you know the exact wording and process to use. And that's why we're having this training at Red, White, and Blue. Right.
Well, the key wording, though, is legal. What is it called now? Legal counsel, if I remember right. Okay. That means you're not a person of law of any kind. You're just a counsel to the law.
Keith, that's law.
You're familiar? I'm sorry?
That's law counsel.
Okay, you got Libby, go ahead.
Yeah, that's law counsel, not legal. Legal.
Okay, law counsel, that's what I'm trying to remember. Okay.
Right. Corporation. Becky, do you want me to say some things?
Yeah, Libby, I do. This is Libby. Introduce yourself to the panel and to the listening audience, please.
My name is Libby. I'm a friend to everybody that calls me that name. I am a researcher and a freelance writer. I do a lot of research on the Republic and the form of government that we have. I've been finding a lot of documents and passing them to Becky and to Keith and to various people because I feel like they are the truth that's coming out that people need to realize. There is a attorney, and she has been the Pope's attorney. She's in Alaska. Her name is Anna Von Ritz. She has a website. I'm going to give you her website if you got a pencil and paper handy. You need to go to this website. You need to look at her documents. she has put in some very serious documents, quo warrantos. She wrote writs of assistance. She's got a lot of common law stuff going on for the people. She also brings in a lot of history about this government and the factions of this government. You need to understand that we are actually running three governments out of Washington, D.C. There's the first government, which is the 50 states in union. They're on land. They are called United States of America Major. There's the federal government, which is the United States of America Minor. It was replicated. The Constitution was changed from the word for to of, so it was duplicated and taken away from the people and put federally up there, okay? There's also insular states, which they are the ones that are replicated, and they are the ones that are in union with the United Nations, okay? The Congress up there is running all three shows. Now, this judge, and she is a judge as well as an attorney. She's a judge under common law. She has brought all this information out on her website. And she has filed papers on behalf of us, the people on the land, and she's getting responses, good responses from it. And her address is www.anna, A-N-N-A, Von, V-O-N, Ritz, REITZ.com. And when that page pulls up, it's going to have every document she wrote on behalf of the people that are living inhabitants on the land. And she's going to have a document at the end of it. Hang on a minute. Let me close something out here so I can tell you what it is. Public order document and a public order timeline document. Those are the last two she has on there. With that document, you do not have a signature. Corporations have signatures, okay? And I guess you're acquainted with the straw man. So when you sign a signature, you're signing as a corporation. Under common law, when you do an autograph, you autograph in red ink. You do not autograph in blue ink, because if you sign in blue ink, that shows you're one of their U.S. citizens. If you autograph in red ink, that shows you are a person on the land. Okay? The same thing with this document. She signs it with her seal, which happens to be her family crest. And if you want to look up www.familycrest.com, most all of us have a family crest. Becky, I sent you yours in an email a while ago that I found. Keith, I haven't got to you yet, but it's on its way. So with that and with the red ink, signing that document and dating it for the name of your state, and a red thumbprint that shows your thumbprint, that becomes a lawful document. That puts you on the land. You've done everything that she's told you to do. Now, where we need to subject that to, I don't know yet, but I may be finding out here because I just opened up a new document, and I was reading it here, and it's in her paperwork. Okay, in Alaska, they have created a Civil Judge Advocates Council. Let me open the document, and I'll read it to you. Very interesting. The Civil Judge Advocates Council by Judge Anna Von Ritz. The Civil Judge Advocates Council was formed when researchers discovered a startling fact. Although the Alaska legislature went through the motions to establish the proper court system of the land jurisdiction back in 1959, it was largely vacated and not used. The court still became a historical artifact through disuse and appeared only on a few old documents of that era. Yet, in fact, this was the only common law court ever established in accord with the Constitution and the only court competent to deal with living people and land and other private property disputes in the Alaska state. Clearly, it was up to the living people to restore the court. find those competent to act as judges, clerks, bailiffs, etc., and start offering service as the people court. So that's what the Civil Judge Advocates Council began to work on. It is the proverbial missing piece. All these other courts have been twisted out of character and form and forced to function outside of their natural jurisdictions and upon the patently false presumption that all the parties they address have consented to be United States citizens, capital letters, are corporate persons, and other such insanity, because these courts have no jurisdiction allowing them to function on the land or to address the living people, and they know it. This goes a long way towards explaining what is wrong in this country and why. If the people court in Alaska was vacated 45 years ago and common law has been unavailable ever since, chances are the same things occurred in other states about the same time. A Republican form of government and common law courts are part of what the federal contract requires them to provide, but they haven't been doing it. Their excuse is found in Thompson versus Erie Railroad, 1938, where it is admitted that the federal government has no form of general common law it can apply. This is because each state on the land retained its own common law. There was no overall common denominator that the federal union could apply in the common law venue, so it wiped its hands and ceased operating in that venue. Just prior to that, the state governments, with a capital S for states, that had been operating the land jurisdiction, common law courts were bankrupted, and the successor organization, the United States, all capital letters, fronted by the IMF, all capital letters, saw no reason why the new state of whatever, all capital letters, franchises it established for itself should be burdened with the cost of maintaining a separate court system for the use and convenience of the people. It was felt that since there was no uniform common law standard that could be applied in every state, federal, all capital state franchises were not obligated to provide court facilities and pay for personnel to maintain common law courts run for and by the people of the land jurisdiction. End result, living people on the land have been mistaking these federal state, all capital letters, courts for their own Alaska state courts, which is Alaska's capitalized state. Alaska, the A is capitalized, the S is capitalized, and C is capitalized, when in fact no common law venue is being provided the people. The federal union shrugs and says we have no general common law standard to work from, so we can't provide one either directly or via our federal all capital letter state franchises. The people of each state will have to set up their own common law courts and operate them if they want courts that are competent to judge matters in common law and to address living people and their land and property disputes. So that is what the Civil Judge Advocates Council is set up to do. We have the Alaska chapter up and running. Hang on, I got to pull the page up. It is our position that the federal union is obligated as a successor to the original equity contract to pay for and provide the facilities and payroll needed for each state on the land to operate its common law court system, because that is obviously the intent of the contract and part of the service that is guaranteed. The land-based states and the people have already paid for the construction of state courthouses and other related facilities for their own use. The federal states, all capital letters, are only using these facilities and should be fully and freely providing them for the use of the common law court owed to each land-based state. We are pressing and petitioning the governor about this matter because none of the federal all capital letter state courts are competent to address living people or to address disputes about the land or private property. There is no valid jurisdiction for these courts to operate. That is why they have had to presume that we have all voluntarily accepted United States citizenship, capital U, capital S, capital C, and have chosen to operate under legal fiction. personas. This is the cornerstone of the entire fraud, and its false claims of ownership and authority to enforce statutory law against living peoples. The inability of the federal government to work in common law in no way detracts from our ability to do so, nor does it detract from the superior nature of our court venue. We simply have to operate our own courts and do so according to the principles of common law, and the federal union and its federal states, all capital letters, are obliged to shove off and respect our superior court and jurisdiction. Otherwise, the treaties and contracts allowing the federal government to exist will be violated, and they can all be invited to move to Puerto Rico on a permanent basis. That's the end of her document.
Right. No, I mean, it's exactly right on.
Okay.
Now, here's one that'll curl your hair. Everyone refers to the Bar Association, but no one knows what bar means. I can refer you to a website that's started by a guy who originally from mainland U.S., now in Hawaii, has started a string of offices across the country called Common Law Office of America. And in it, he shows you the difference between attorneys at law and attorney in law. And the bar means British Accreditation Regency. So that means that our lawyers, so-called, are beholding to and working for the British government through the accreditation regency set up for lawyers. I mean, it's just so preposterous, it's beyond belief.
What you're saying is correct, but the terminology, it is attorney when it's referring to the corporation, the de facto. It is common law counsel when it's referring to the common law people.
Right, yeah.
And the common law is in law, and the other one, the de facto, is at law, attorneys at law. So that's the difference between the two.
Yeah, but people need to realize that the attorneys aren't working for the people. They're working for the British government, basically, when you follow the logic through.
Yes,
and they operate according to what they're told to do, which is basically to raise money for the illegal incorporated United States and to control the people. That's their function. And if they don't do that, then they lose their status as an esquire, which is illegal according to the original 13th Amendment.
Becky, my recommendation is that we claim our identity as American state citizens, and that we fill out that paperwork that she's got that I said about the let me go see if I can find it again. The public order with cover. The very last page is where you sign that with red ink, and you put your family seal there. And I put a picture of myself, like one you would put on the thing you have to get on a plane. I can't think of it right now. Passport. And I dated it and put the name of my state in there, and I'm going to send that to the Civil Judge Advocates Council and see if I can get to make sure that I'm recognized as an American state citizen, because somewhere somebody's got to recognize our identity.
Yeah.
If this has already been set up there, we need to utilize this, and we need to claim our identity back so that the de facto court system recognize who we are. Because everybody's trying to fight it with the system, and you can't fight the system with the system. We have to pull ourselves out of it, get our identities in line, and then go forward.
Well, it's true up to a point, except, like I pointed out, Larry Klayman won his case with the Strange family against the NSA. And if you're going to take on any major part of the system, the NSA is representative of that, and they won in court. So it is possible to achieve things in the statutory court system, but by far the best avenue is the common law court system, because that's the actual real legal court system we should be operating in.
Well,
you noted.
if we get together, we get our identities together, and we get our states working together in union the way they're supposed to be, we're going to have the system set up for the people. And they will honor it, because when the de jure comes forward, which that's what they're called, the de facto has to stand back. Their law is not superior to ours. Ours is superior to theirs.
Right. That's why we're doing Red, White, and Blue Fest. People need to learn about these things, and especially leaders like this lady that you're talking about from Alaska.
Yes.
All these people, if you ask them if they know Larry Klayman or if they know Roger Widener, or if they know any of these other, none of these people know each other. We need to get all these people together, and like you're saying, let's get it on the same page so that we're operating as a force in unity rather than everyone doing their own thing. So it just emphasizes why there's a need for something like a Red, White, and Blue Fest, to get people to come together and meet face-to-face, get some confidence about working together. Now, one of the things that we found at all the rides and rallies and everything else that we went to, people are reluctant to show up if they don't know who they're dealing with. And the only way to overcome that is for people to look each other in the eye and know they mean business and know that they're truthful and get some confidence about working together. So unity won't happen on the Internet. It's going to happen face-to-face.
Steve, I think respectively, and I'm just going to throw a suggestion out there, there are many reasons why people don't show up. Fear and complacency are a huge control factor, but we have a lot of people right now hurting financially that can't just go across the country and be somewhere. I would suggest that we set up a Skype forum for the individuals that are not in a leadership position, and you guys can, Scott, I want your input, Rick, everybody on, I want your input. We could set up a Skype situation where folks who are on the page can meet the leaders, can meet each other. We can all have a conversation, look each other in the eye. And for the leaders, respectively, go to this event and get people to help fund you. If you can't do it yourself, get people in the group. Start a fund for the group, specifically for individuals that need a little bit of help getting the leaders to the location in Florida. Leaders go down, take the courses, get the information, come back and impart that information through Skype.
Exactly.
Get it to your people.
That's it.
And that's my suggestion, and I'm just going on the failure. Scott, what's your opinion on that, brother?
With all the court legalese?
Well, all of it. I mean...
Well, even our names on our birth certificate being in all capital letters means something.
Yeah,
and, they have set this up so even your birth certificate is basically you being traded on the open market. All right, you're a commodity.
Right, as a commodity.
That's where the whole human resources comes from. You're just a human resource, okay?
Yeah.
And it's your ability to make money and generate income and taxes for them to steal from you.
And you bring in a whole bunch of Mexicans and get them certificates.
The entire court system is a farce. Even when you go into court and you know how the flag has got that gold trim around it and everybody just thinks, oh, that's just a fancy American flag, it's fancy because it's in a court. No, you know what that means? That means something like maritime law or something.
Yeah.
Right.
And
when you go in there, you're basically by now you're guilty till proven innocent, or you wouldn't even need a lawyer. And there's a difference between a lawyer and an attorney.
Right.
And I mean, I'm not an expert in this, but there's this one guy out there, and he's got some videos that he's really arrogant though, but he goes through about the language and how it was all set up to, even when you put your hand on a Bible and swear, and when you're in court, you're pretty much giving up all your rights. You're pretty much putting your whole life and freedom in the hands of this attorney, which is British accredited, which is against the law, so to speak, because you're swearing to a foreign government. and the judge is just a lawyer who got a promotion.
Yeah. Oftentimes.
The reasons that we are, if we have some late listeners coming in on the show, the current events, past events are being briefed on this show, and a possible solution or resolution before we have to go to revolution. And they're definitely trying to push us into that. We have a guest, a surprise guest that has come on tonight. Area code 580. Your microphone is open. Would you introduce yourself to the listeners, please?
I'm Brandon Walker. I work for a online conservative newspaper.
Okay.
I'm a retired veteran with 17 and a half years of law enforcement.
Thank you for your service. God bless you.
Yes, I would like to thank you as well. And you're on top of things. You're a blogger. You write for a conservative newspaper. What is your opinion, sir? I know you've been listening in. What is your opinion on the discussion here, and what can you bring to the table to possibly give us some direction?
Well, studying criminal law and everything, I do understand that the common law courts, and not everybody, like you said, understands that the bar examination is technically a foreign title. So is the UN title that's held by our current resident in the Oval Office. There are several of them, as a matter of fact, that hold foreign titles, and they completely ignore it, ignoring rule of law, no matter how big they talk about rule of law. I would like to see a return to it, but I would honestly not be surprised if you had a couple people showing up on your doorstep or anybody that talks about it. In fact, they've classified sovereign citizens as basically a terrorist organization.
Right.
We have terrorists all over the world. The FBI has basically said the sovereign citizens are the lone wolf threat to the United States. In fact, Jade Helm is about mainly the Sovereign Citizen Act. I mean, the reasonable thing here is we're looking at areas like South Texas. Now, if we look overseas at an overseas map and we look at West Texas, there may be some desert in West Texas that would mirror some of the areas these gentlemen will be fighting in overseas, a little bit of rolling hills. But let's be honest here. South Texas, near the equator, we don't have any foreign war zones overseas that are like that. And it's not dense enough for us to really be training for Africa. And their whole entire statement is that they're training to get used to working with the public. Now, why would they be working with the public like that?
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, Jade Helm has me scared.
Well,
this is just a continuation of the Boston thing, okay? Here you got two suspects during that Boston bombing thing, right? This is something that normally two cops or one detective would have handled. But here they have martial law basically declared in Boston. All right, they roll in a bunch of mercenary army going door to door asking people for their gun registrations and stuff like that. They weren't looking for these guys. Just to see how the public was going to react, flushing posse comitatus down the drain. And I mean, basically, and they don't call it martial law. They're going to be calling it an emergency police action because it sounds nicer. Okay? Yeah. And so now they're upping that with all this training, urban training warfare in American cities, taking people, under arrest with no charges filed, thanks to the NDAA law, and seeing how people react. Because when they do this in enough times in enough states, people start getting accustomed to it, it starts to be normal, seeing black helicopters fly over your house, seeing an army, rolling through your neighborhood, and until one day when it goes live, everybody's going to think it's just another drill, but it's not going to be another drill.
Yeah, exactly right.
I agree, and they're making lists. The other thing, the reason we know they're making lists, William, is you have statements that are being made concerning the operation wherein they will be in civilian clothing, and they specifically are asking citizens to report certain individuals for questionable activity or character, if you will. They're trying to get us to squeal on one another so that they can complete their list.
We've been doing that since New York. That's no secret. I mean, let's face it. When Governor Cuomo came out with $500 to tattle on your neighbor if he had an AR-15 inside the door.
Oh, that's right out of Hitler's playbook.
That's honestly true. I mean, I actually wrote about that a couple of years ago.
He's a big Chairman Mao supporter. Did you know that?
Oh, I do know that.
Oh, yeah, he loves Chairman Mao. You bet. Hardcore communist. I mean, so this is nothing new to them.
Exactly. Look at the current president in the White House. If anybody looked at his previous history right up until he became a United States Senator,
they all know it. They all know it.
Exactly.
And that's why
his father.
That's why this is so hard. Is because
to his mentor, and every generation, including his grandparents. I mean, even Frank Marshall Davis, if you want to say that he's the father, he was a known communist.
He is. He
was a known communist.
The
fact is, he was trained all his life under communist and Muslim rule. You don't expect a tiger to change its stripes. Why people believe that, I honestly don't know. The fact of the matter is, while we're sitting here watching Jade Helm and worried about the situation, has anybody ever paid attention to what went on in Florida last weekend?
Yeah. Yes.
And we know what's going on in Austin.
It's freaking down. It's not made for the Dollar Tree. I don't look for that kind of thing, but I'm sure they
In Austin, they're running
background noise here.
Yeah, I heard that. And in Austin, they're running Craigslist ads.
Yeah,
no lies.
Mm-hmm.
The Texas
for crisis actors.
For crisis actors for this month, just like they did July 4th of last year. You can get $10 an hour to go down and lay there like you've got some sort of disease.
Right.
While they run their little evac crew over you. Now, the fact of the matter is, none of this is relatively new. They've been doing this since about 2006. Yes, that's under Bush. But the fact of the matter is, it has slowly stepped up over time. The fact of the matter is, we know the military has fake cities, complete fake villages built even at Fort Hood. Complete with doors, windows, ladder accesses, everything.
Well, I don't know if you guys are aware of it, but there was actually an agreement signed between Russia and the United States on forming a global police force between the two of them as a counterterrorism police force.
Well, I understand that, but I also understand that President Obama has been kind of the whole situation when Putin was supposed to go into Crimea. Even though the article flopped, I went ahead and wrote it because people have a right to know. The whole deal was that when Putin came in, he did not touch the Muslims. Who were the first people he executed? He gave them one option to leave, and then he executed them.
Wow.
That kind of pissed Obama off, to say the least. Now we have the escalation in the Ukraine. Well, let's look at this situation for a minute. Whose son is over that pipeline? happens to be Joe Biden. The Ukrainian pipeline is under Joe Biden's son, who was drummed out of the military for drug use. That is honestly no lie.
Let that resonate. I mean, if you start tracing the tracks of the vice president and the president's children for several generations, I think you would be just gobsmacked at the positions they hold, the chairs that they're holding, and their investments.
They're all the same, though. George Cokehead. I mean, come on. It doesn't matter. They're the elite. They're the chosen ones. They can do anything they want. You get caught with a marijuana seed in 1970, you're still rotting in a prison somewhere.
That's fact. That's a fact. Well, I see a lot of things happening. We've got a dirty bomb. We've got a dirty bomb drill in California going on right now. People, you need to pay attention. We know that Washington is not pleased with our attempts to secede Texas or break away or, to achieve independence. I don't care how you want to put it. It's all the same thing. We know that a large majority of the original Jade Helm 15 territory would, in fact, be our original territory before the annexation. And we know that border's been opened up wide, and several countries have come through there, not just the South Americas and Mexico. We know that terrorists have come through there. We know that prayer rugs have been found. We know that ISIS left behind their calling card, thousands of them on the border saying, "We're here," in Arabic with their flag on.
Wearing his shirts.
Absolutely. We also know that.
I mean, he was seen by the police. They're claiming that he wasn't, but we've got photographs of him in the car, and the police let him go. He was seen again in a jury not too many days later.
Well, we have all these things going on. Then you have the issue about the flag. When you raise your flag, you're essentially claiming territory. We've just recently had a communist flag over the Capitol in Washington State. That was removed. Watched it on a video myself, and it was a full flag. It wasn't a homemade flag. It was, in fact, a communist flag. So we have a lot of different things going on right now, and we have to remember they love to distract us. So we must be very vigilant.
Love that in Washington when they reported it as patriots tore down the flag. Anybody that has seen that video knows that is a lie. But if you go to any liberal news source like Huffington, that's what you see. The patriots tore down the Chinese flag and disrespected the ambassador that was there. The fact of the matter was, A, it was never authorized to be at the same height as our own flag. B, they stuck it on the middle flagpole, where the American flag should have been.
Right in your face.
Exactly.
Just to see if they can get away with it, and they do. Or it's like in New Jersey when they're flying a flag and it's got President SHIT for brains, his face where the stars are usually. It's unbelievable.
Nothing screams dictator like somebody slapping their name on Obamacare and the Obama phone and, yes, we can flag. At some point we have to take this country back, and at some point we have to stop letting fear rule us. The very fear that is keeping people in their seats at home is the thing that's going to kill you. You cannot escape death. You cannot escape what's coming, and we certainly can't escape it if we do not make an effort to stop it.
The thing is, this is a global thing, all right? That's why Cameron and Obama are doing the exact same things to their countries, all right? Cameron's doing the same thing to Britain as he's doing to us. Why? Because it's the Agenda. It's the Agenda 21, United Nations a plan, and it's a global thing. All these countries, all these presidents and prime ministers, they're just middle management. And you can see it when United Nations comes out and says, you know what, I think this sort of ammunition should be banned. Month later, ATF bans, M16 ammunition or whatever it was.
It was.
I mean, come on, you think that was a coincidence?
And the funny part about it is, they didn't get a ban. There was a national outcry. They did it to see how far they could get away with it, and it's not armor piercing as they claim.
And yet it doesn't matter. You know, the Second Amendment, the whole thing about the Second Amendment is saying that citizens have the right to own whatever the Army's using. So if the Army is using, armor-piercing bullets, guess what that means? But see, they want to change the whole thing and say, oh, that thing meant, hunting. Yeah, right.
My favorite is the militia means. My favorite is the militia means the biggest argument that I usually get into with a lot of people on the internet. The militia means the National Guard. Well, no, it doesn't. It's not state-controlled. It's been under the president since January 21st, 2009. Most people don't know that. Another thing, there is definitely a pause by masters of the English language when it says the right to bear arms. And a lot of people start screaming, well, it means muskets and rifles. Well, I just saw I basically saw a semi-automatic that was Revolutionary War time, 46 caliber, well, 20 bullets, fire as fast as you could press the loader. Air operated even. It's actually quite amazing. But it amazes me that people don't stop and look at the technology back even in those days that were predecessors to our weapons now. There's really not that much difference. And if that held true, then I shouldn't be using a computer to write my article like I am tonight. I should be using a printing press.
You know, they want an uprising is what they want. And that's why they keep pushing the people further and further and further and seeing what they can get away with. And when you can just open the borders and say, you know what, we're just not going to enforce borders anymore. We're just going to let illegal aliens drive drunk. I mean, they just arrested somebody, an illegal alien in New Jersey for raping an underage girl, okay, pedophilia, raping her repeatedly, all right? And they convicted him, and then they said, well, you got a choice. You can either go away to prison for 25 years, or we'll deport you. Which would you like to take? Well, of course, he says, I'll be deported. A week later, he's back on his way to New Jersey again. No charges.
Well, it's not even that simple. I mean, just because Border Patrol hands them over to ICE,
right, and all they are, all DHS is, all they are is an immigration processing center,
Exactly.
And then you got people like Rand Paul, who I'd like to smash in the face when he sits there and says, oh, well, what do you want us to do with the illegals? Put them in concentration camps? I want to say, no, Rand, dipshit. You know what I want you to do? You ever heard of deportation? You know, it's sort of what the DHS is doing, only in reverse. Not really rocket science there, genius.
And it's extremely cheaper. You can charter a flight, fly it several times over, back and forth to Central America, and it's still cheaper. But yet they're doing it in just the reverse. Judicial Watch just confirmed, as well as the State Department has it on their website, as well as, let's see, who all do I got uploaded here in this article that I'm writing? U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services, the Department of Homeland Security, yeah, that's really who I want in charge of immigration, have all three on their websites confirming that we are now going to ship the children of these illegal immigrants. Now, hold on. I thought the scenario in the first place was that they were children that came over the border in the first place.
Yeah, they're 3 years old, and they can hike over mountains and swim across rivers.
Why there?
You know, you even had General Petraeus say, "What's after America? North America." I mean, you know, he admitted it. We're already North American Union, and that's been an Agenda 21 plan for 100 years. You know, I mean, no borders, and that's exactly what it is. Open borders, both sides, and they're flooding the system with as many as they can, and no one's going to do anything to stop it. I mean, it's overwhelming. And I don't see how little patriot groups here and there is going to make a squat of difference. You know, I don't see any hope at all.
That's our biggest problem, and that's the one thing that every time I think about it, the chills up and down my spine goes. I keep hearing all these little groups. You know, I talk to them. I try to stay ahead of the game and be a part of them so they can recognize my face and everything. And I hear them all the time of, oh, well, if the government takes over, say, Houston, we're going to go storm in there and we're going to take it back. You want to go walk in there and sign your own death warrant?
Texas ain't going to do shit, okay? That don't mess with Texas has been a slogan, and that's it for a very long time. I mean, Houston, Dallas, I mean, the government will invade it before they'll let that succeed or do anything on its own, okay?
That's exactly what's going to happen.
They had a chance to stand up to the TSA a couple of years ago.
Exactly.
And what people don't know is that the lieutenant governor actually has more power than the governor in Texas. And I'm not sure why that is, but I know it's a fact. And all they had to do was say, you know what? We don't want this. It's unconstitutional. It's illegal search and seizure. It's not having any privacy on your person. It's treating people like inmates who haven't committed a crime while they wave people in burqas through without even checking them. Okay.
Right.
So if you're a natural-born, American-born citizen, you're just a piece of crap. And you know we're gonna search Grandma in a wheelchair when she's got a colostomy bag and she's dying of cancer. We're gonna humiliate her. But the raghead coming across now, we're gonna wave him on through because he's one of the group. All right. Texas had a chance to stand up to that at that moment. And the government came back and said, really? Well, we're going to have a no-fly zone over your airport. They should have said, go for it. You know, shut the airport down. We'll shut the entire city down because this is, you know, you got to make a decision when you're going to draw a line in the sand and say, that's it. And
if you were going to draw the line in the sand, the best thing for Texas to do if they were to go draw the line in the sand and secede from the Union would be like, if the government decided, okay, well, we're going to invade your cities, the people to rise up and say, okay, well, we're going to shut down the fuel production.
They've already broken the charter.
Exactly. They've already broken the charter. The fact of the matter is, if you were to shut down Texas's oil production, you would bring the United States to its knees within minutes.
Well, you bring not just the oil. Not just the oil.
In oil.
Not just the oil. You're talking about a huge infrastructure here in America. I mean, in Texas.
Exactly.
You can shut manufacturing, import, export. I mean, the list is huge. The grid. We could cut so much off, and that's why they don't want us to secede. Rick, you've been very silent, brother. Do you have something you'd like to add? Is Rick still with us?
Yes,
Rick?
ma'am. What was the question?
You've been very silent. Do you have something else to add to this?
Well,
essentially, we've got somebody calling. I think it was Scott Perello calling Texans pussies. How do you feel about that?
Well, come on down to Texas. Come on down to Texas. Come on down to Texas. We got a few guys that ain't so much pussies. But
I'm stirring the shit pot. Go ahead, brother.
Hey, I would like to mention that Dennis Michael Lynch is fixing to throw his name out there. He's not a politician, and he's going to run for the president of the United States. and he's going under the Republican Party because he knows that he couldn't. He tried to run as an independent, but he found out how much money that would take him to get on the ballot, and he's not a wealthy man. He's like most of us, and I really like the guy, and hopefully if we can all rally behind one guy, and we might have a chance of going another route. I mean, I'm looking at all the different avenues that we can take before we have to have the revolution and it gets ugly.
Well, Scott, I know you and Will both probably have something to throw in there when it comes to voting. What's your opinion on that?
Voting? Oh, my God. It has been rigged from start to finish for so long, I can't even tell you. The last fair election we had was Ronald Reagan, and it was only because both parties liked him. Both Democrats and Republicans both liked this guy, and the establishment couldn't get rid of him, and they all tried, including scumbags like Newt Gingrich, that everybody thinks is such a great guy, and people like Charles Krauthammer, and people like who voted for Walter Mondale, and but Reagan was it. And the only way they could stop him was to force him to have George H.W. Bush as his vice president, because he couldn't stand George H.W. Bush, and he even said so. But they said, you're going to have him, or you're not going to be president, period, pal. Okay? And that's why Reagan's speeches were so awesome, but he didn't get much done. He had his vice president lighting fires everywhere he could. The Iran-Contra. Who do you think started that? Who do you think who was behind that? Sure wasn't Reagan, okay? And then that was it. And as soon as the electronic voting fraud machines were introduced, boy, now they could rig 10,000 votes in 5 seconds. That used to take 2 weeks. And this is why people like Harry Reid can have a 25% approval rating in Nevada 2 days before an election and still win.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I can go down to Radio Shack, buy the equipment, and flip those voting machines in 5 seconds.
Once we got rid of we used to raise our hand and vote and claim, and everybody saw who was voting what. And once we went to the secret ballot, so to say, now they can. Who knows what you vote, right? So it's all secret. So when we're not
even in these third world shitholes, they make you dip your finger in purple ink to prove that you didn't vote twice. And now you have these people, they come out after the election, and they're smiling and laughing, this black lady, I voted 10 times for Obama. And they slap her on the wrist, and the Democrats throw a party for her. I'm serious, they threw an actual party for her.
Yeah,
okay?
After she got out
and then you got the illegals coming over here. And all they got to do is if they actually register to vote, which most of them don't, they can just give a park bench. It used to be where you'd have to give them your address, and then the government would send you something to make sure you lived there. Now they just write down, a park bench or something somewhere, cemetery.
You got 18 families getting tax checks out of one home.
Using the same kids.
Using the same kids over and over.
They also did away with exit polling. So you can't really tell, by exit polling how the votes are going. And then half of the votes, like 80% of them that's going out of Florida and some of these swing states, they're going over to Spain to be counted by a company that's partially owned by George Soros.
Oh, he has the controlling interest in that company. And listen to this. One of Joe Biden's sons also has a huge interest in the voting machines in America. But I can go one better than that, ladies and gentlemen. Voting is theater. Voting is theater because if the American people really thought they had no say-so in who governs over them, because that's how ignorant they are as mass, they don't understand the functions intended for government was for actually them to serve us, to be subservient to the people, to hear the people and represent the people. If they didn't put on this big theater, this big show, the people would rise up, and there would be a whole lot of people hung on some front lawns. So what they do is they have this big build-up, this theatrical
illusion of choice.
Yeah, it's an illusion. And most people don't even understand that there is no congressional or federal oversight committee, nothing regulates or rules over how an electoral college places a vote. And that's who actually puts your POTUS and your VP into that position, or it's supposed to. And they don't have to vote based on the majority for their district. They don't have to. There's nothing in the rule book that says they have to. Romney had 4 million more votes than Obama, but miraculously, the pig and thief, the Muslim cockroach, the piece of shit, I'm just going to call him what he is, usurper, the mole that's sitting up there in the White House, calls himself Barack, we'll call him Barry. He did not win popular vote. He was placed the first time, he was placed the second time. 4 people are sitting in jail for false signatures, for forgery, that Pelosi put together to even have him put on the ballot for his first run as president of this country. They use the black and white division for a purpose. Everything they do is for purpose. They inflate, deflate numbers, statistics, from the market to unemployment, to population. They changed the census, which changed the number of electoral votes by busing these foreigners, these immigrants, terrorists, I like to call them, all over the nation. They're strategically placed to change population, to change areas for political gain.
Yeah, but you know what? Does anybody in this phone conversation, did anybody here want Romney there? Who picked Romney? You know how they're always saying, well, that's the establishment pick. Well, the establishment. Who's the establishment? You ever ask anybody that? A bunch of unelected officials? Who's the establishment? You want to know who they are? The Trilateral Commission and the Council of Foreign Relations. That's the establishment. That's who tells you which traitorous scumbag you get to pretend to choose from. And then they don't even give you the choice of which loser you want. It's like a Don King match. Who do you think's going to win at the end of the night? Don King, right?
Right. Joe, you've been very quiet, brother. Do you have something you'd like to add? Joe, are you still with us, brother? Joe, I guess we lost Joe. All right. We've got someone who has their hand up. Gentlemen, I'm suspecting that this person has something they would like to bring into the conversation. Area code 602, your mic is open. You're on live on Rage. Who have we got?
Hey, Becky, this is Karen.
Hey,
I've been listening, and I have got a bite. We're never going to change Washington. We don't control Washington. That's like telling Walmart we don't like their khaki pants and their blue shirts. We want them to change them. They're not going to do it. Washington's not going to change. The only thing that we can do, because we're not going to get anywhere with Washington, it's a corporation. Let's call it like it is. It's a business. We need to do this locally. We need to force our leaders in our states to throw all the federal agencies out of our states, close up our borders. They want the immigrants in here. Let's ship them all to D.C. I mean, all that money that's coming off at the state level, for their food stamps and their WIC and the EBT, all that. Let's just put them all on a bus to Washington, D.C. if they want them.
Well, you know what?
We're not going to change nothing.
Right here, Karen, right here in Texas, the projection last year, and I don't know what the projection is this year, but the projection last year to carry all the dead flesh, if you will, these foreign invaders that have declared war on Texas, I'm not talking about America, I'm talking about Texas, that's where I'm from, is well over $80 billion. It was $86 billion to be exact, estimated cost to give them housing, free school, free lunches, free school supplies, free medical care, to give them food stamps. And now I understand that it's up to $6,000 in supplements per month per family. You listen, pardon me, but that's bullshit. I'm going to tell you right now that's bullshit. I have homeless American citizens out in the street, and those numbers are growing daily. A large majority of those are my veterans who went over with a good heart, with a patriotic heart, to serve purpose, to try to make a difference in the world for humanity, who were falsely given a narrative or a directive to do so by whoremongers that are in corporate position, and the de facto government create these wars, fund both sides, and then send our soldiers in to be slaughtered. Then when they come home, because they know they're trained, they're war machines, they kill them off, and they make them so destitute, it's pathetic. Because otherwise, those veterans would be capable and able and probably very willing to go against this de facto government and take this country back. Listen, the coup d'etat has already been established. Anybody that thinks it hasn't obviously hasn't been paying attention or doing your homework. And don't take my word for it. Everybody that listens to the show knows that we put a disclaimer out there. And here's my disclaimer. If you don't believe me, go prove me wrong. And if you can prove
they have
me
already
wrong,
declared war on all of us.
We're in the middle of it. We're in the middle of it. We had an individual that was severely injured last week on our border, sitting as private security and militia, turning the illegals back, who was attacked with a weapon, 6 broken ribs, a ruptured spleen, and that's just one incident. We've had many incidents from California to Texas. That is, in fact, an act of friggin' war in its definition, and Greg Abbott is sitting his crippled ass up there in the White House or the capital of Texas in the governor's mansion, and he's not doing anything. He doesn't need federal or congressional permission to deliver the state guard to secure that border. He needs no permission whatsoever. None. That's a fact. Has he done it?
Yeah, no governor needs that. But they're not doing it because they're part of the problem.
Sold you out too. Yeah, and I don't see how you can do it. I mean, people can't even get a constitutional sheriff, for crying out loud. And if there's one thing you can elect that it's probably not rigged, is a constitutional sheriff, because it's so small and local. I mean, but you can't even get that, accomplished. People can't even get the TSA, or they can't even get the local weathermen to report on chemtrails they're dumping on your head. I mean, it's just ridiculous.
Well, we're at a point where I'm willing to do everything. I get pissed off, and I tell Americans like it is. I tell the whole world. More than 30 countries are listening to this broadcast. If they're not listening now, they'll go in and pull the archives. That's what we're seeing across the board when we go in to look at our stats. Courthouse in Washington, D.C. is listening. If you're listening today, Eric Holder, you kiss my ass, you little criminal bastard. I don't care. You do not scare me. You can watch me all day long. I preach resolution. If we can find a resolution and avoid revolution, I do not want to see blood in my streets. And I'm going to tell you right now, when other countries have waged war on my state, when we are losing citizens at a rate higher than we lost in the 12-year Iraqi war every year in this country at the hands of a foreign invader, they're not illegal aliens. They're not immigrants. Immigrants come here with the understanding that this is a better opportunity that they can come here and they can do it legally and prosper, but not be given the prosperity while it's being taken away from us. That's an immigrant. With the understanding that they're not going to mooch off of the government. That's not what we have going on here.
The very word immigration is a legal process. And when you're jumping a fence, it's not a legal process. You're not an illegal immigrant, okay? You're an illegal invader.
A foreign invader, absolutely. And when they come across with so much as even a pocket knife in their pocket, that is called an armed foreign invader. And when they enact an act of violence on an American citizen, a Texas citizen, it doesn't matter where, anybody in the USA that was born here, when they commit an act of violence against us, that is actually an act of war. Look at the definition, look at the rules of war, that's what it is. And our government in the state of Texas, now Perry's gone, he's guilty, Now we have Abbott doing the same damn thing. And then asking for allocations from the DHS to support some special bullshit effort on my border is nothing more than giving them the authority to be over that entity that we're sending to the border, and to give them the very same directive that they're given to the Border Patrol, which is to stand down, to assist and not resist. Our Border Patrol cannot even defend themselves against a physical attack with fisticuffs. That's a fact. I talked to an active duty Border Patrol month before last. As of January 1, they're drawn up in front of the Internal Affairs Committee. They lose their job and possibly face criminal, let that resonate, criminal charges for injuring or assault on a foreign invader that has attacked them. Let that shit resonate.
And they're giving them beanbag rounds, not live bullets.
Yeah.
Yes, I really want to go face AK-40 with beanbag.
That's almost as bad as the rules of engagement for our military over there. Well, you can't shoot at an enemy unless they, they won't put their gun down and they won't hold up the rules of engagement. If they had the rules of engagement in Vietnam like they do now, there would have been nobody coming back.
Well, yeah, and then we have soldiers. We actually have soldiers who've been court-martialed and in prison for killing a captured combatant that attacked them and threatened their lives. They pull a gun. They have to kill them in order to defend themselves and their troops, and they go to prison for it. What the hell is that? What is that? Can you tell me?
25-year sentence in Leavenworth now. Yes, correct. 100%.
It's been a total takeover of our government from top to bottom, from the military to the school system, everywhere.
Well,
I really don't see anything people can really do.
Well, I do.
We're screwed.
I do. It's called Rise Up. Go into your own state, establish your court system, get your army, your squad of constitutional deputies or sheriffs or whatever it is, and you go in and you arrest these bastards at home. You go get them at home. Don't go to the workplace. Don't go into the Capitol. You go in and you arrest them and you put them on trial.
As much as I love rednecks with guns, as much as I love militia, I'll tell you what, 1,000 militia and 1,000 redneck with guns are going to be taken down by 25 well-trained, military people in about 10 minutes.
Some of those well-trained will be in the mix. I assure you.
Well,
some of those
well-trained special ops. Do you guys know about the Citizen Revolt in Iceland?
Yes, I do.
Yeah, but
Okay, so they surrounded their parliament, threw stones at it, and they arrested the top 3 bankers in the country. 2 of them were Rothschilds.
What I'm talking about.
First time I know of a Rothschild successfully being prosecuted as a banker, carrying out nefarious banking activities. So it is possible.
And you know what?
It's a ray of hope.
You know how they were able to do that? It's because Iceland is the size of Omaha, Nebraska.
Well,
okay.
But
you try doing that with the whole country.
We have a lot more.
Let me tell you what. You take
Washington
100 million.
And the state capitals.
You take 50 to 100 million per state, and you exact a simultaneous roundup, and I guarantee you there is no military in the friggin' world that's going to be able to battle that, because it's going on in every state, and there's so damn many of them. There's so many people out there doing what needs to be done to take the criminals into courts and try them. Listen, I'm not good. Every time a person dies in this country because they've opened our borders up and our governor, let's just use Texas as an example. Every time a Texan dies at the hands of a foreign invader, they are not only aiding and abetting, but now they're an accomplice to murder. Just like if I go with you into a bank and you're sitting in the car and I get trigger happy and I kill somebody, we haul ass, they catch us, you're the driver, you didn't pull the trigger, but you are guilty of the same crime. Just like that, they are guilty. Listen, they're not above the law. They think they are, but they're not above the law. They're guilty of murder. They're guilty of pedophilia. They're guilty of robbery. They're guilty of rape, They're guilty of every crime that is committed by a foreign invader that comes across that border. Why? Because they're aiding and abetting. It's very clear in the U.S. Code what aiding and abetting is. We can't even give them so much as a glass of water. That's aiding and abetting. And they're giving them our livelihood. They're giving them our lives. You see what I'm saying?
So how do we hold them accountable for it?
You arrest their ass.
Here's the big problem and the big issue. Well, there is a problem.
We all agree to that.
We'll be quite honest. Disorganization and infighting.
That's it, right there.
It's got to stop. I mean,
that's it.
It's, you know, I have sat here through meeting after meeting with so many different groups in Texas, just as is, that are splintered. I mean, they're completely fractured. It's not even funny. It's you get some people that get it, then you get some people who just want to be in charge of something. And all this big talk about going and storming Washington, okay, that'd be great. Let's say you get 1,000 people. You really honestly think 1,000 people are going to take Washington, D.C.?
Oh, no, it would take millions. It would absolutely take millions.
My point is, you know, you go on to the national group. The national groups are fighting each other, and I do have my prejudice. Of course, I'm ex-military and everything, but I do have my prejudice against a certain religion. And, you know, if you tell me that I have my right to say something when I know it's completely wrong by their doctrine, then you're begging yourself for trouble because you're believing lies. And then if it's going to cause infighting and fracturing because you can't get your head on straight to see what the actual target is, then here we go again.
I agree with you, and that's why you're on this call. We need leaders
right now because nobody is organized. And I hate to tell them, if they get rounded up tomorrow and stuck in one of the CCA contracted prisons or the Wackenhut prisons, I can't get you out.
You're correct.
You probably won't even know they're there.
So spot on. Pardon?
You probably won't even know they're there in the prisons because they just take us without telling nobody.
Oh, yeah. We've got some missing right now that we're looking for, and a couple of them are veterans. They just disappeared. They just disappeared. Family can't find them. Nobody can find them.
They won't get up dead. Anybody ever notice that the suicide rate for veterans is 22 a day, but yet most or more or most of the veterans...
You know why that is? You know why that is?
Well,
you got these people, you got these kids going... You got these kids going to the military believing this red, white, and blue bullshit, and they go in there and they find out that they're fighting with the enemy half the time. They're getting shot up with all kinds of crap, test drugs and whatnot, you know, antidepressants, you know, you name it. And, you know, the morale is down the drain. Then they find out what the rule of engagement is. Basically, slap a target on your back and send you out into a field with 3 bullets and say, you know, you better make sure that guy was going to kill you or you're going to end up in Leavenworth.
Well, not only that, they realize now that the weapons that are being used on them are being given to them by our government. They're sending them to the battlefield. See, listen, logistically, already we've had 4 reported, and I'm sure there's been more accidental drops right into the hands of ISIS. Listen, you and I both know that the military doesn't make those kind of mistakes, not repeatedly.
They don't drop weapons into a target 18 miles from where it's supposed to hit. No, I mean that was quite obvious. In fact, if you ever pay attention and take a look, there was an executive order giving himself the power to arm Al-Qaeda days before that, even though it's completely illegal.
Now, mind you, I have been escorted out of the Veterans Administration twice.
Yes, my wife has.
By taser in my back.
Well, I was escorted out with her once with a taser, but she did it twice with a taser. Yes, And here's the deal. Here's the deal. They don't just, it's not just, their little experiments are not over once we get home. They're pumping our boys up so far with drugs. If you would have seen the list of drugs that they wanted me on, they dang near pickled my liver with a Motrin overdose. It's not fun. Waco has been found in gross incompetence, gross negligence, leading to the deaths of veterans 4 years running. I haven't seen this year's report, but I assume it's probably going to be 5. And that's just Texas. 4,000 dead in Arizona.
That was the first time I got escorted
out of the VA. That was the first time my wife got escorted out of the VA. The second time was because they were conducting a legal study with gabapentin on me.
For
mood stabilization. And we pointed out it was an illegal study, and she got trapped in a room for 15 minutes. Now, I don't know about anybody else, but in my standards, considering I'm ex-law enforcement, that's kidnapping.
And my past, it was either assault, vandalism through the window, or completely lose it.
Crack up.
If my husband would not have been in the car with me on the way home,
she probably would have wrapped it around the nearest bridge.
You know, you had the Joint Chiefs of Staffs going in front of Congress and telling them that they take their orders from the United Nations. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And one of the congressmen says, I got to catch my breath. What did you just say? He goes, well, like I said, you know what? It was Panetta even said, yeah, you know what? The United Nations tells us what to do, and we might let you in on it, Congress. How do you think of that?
You do realize
treason.
We have a general,
but, you know,
right?
When you have the Joint Chiefs of Staff, top military brass, and everybody on the same page, which they are, there is very little bit you and I or anybody can do. And any talk of, you know, arresting people or doing this or doing that, all you're doing is painting a bigger target on your back. It's not going to get anything accomplished. And, you know, you have top military people resigning that haven't been purged already by this administration. Another, you know, Hitler playbook thing that he did, you know, when he took over Germany. And they're resigning because they don't want to be a part of this takedown of America. But they know it's happening, and they know it's going to happen.
Now, most of us veterans have pretty much resigned to the fact that we have a big major target painted on our back. We have for years. We know it.
Yep. Those 56 guys that signed that Constitution the first time, or the Declaration of Independence, those 56 men, they all knew, and we all know, just by having this conversation on the telephone or this, we got targets. So if you're not, you got to be not afraid of having a target.
Wrong, but I mean, I'm talking literally. We've been classified since 2008 by the FBI as terrorists.
Yeah.
And just for being in the military before, even the ones they drummed out.
Yep.
How's that for thanks from your government?
Oh, I know. You military guys. I mean, I can't figure out why anybody sends their kids to the military. I tried telling my friend before he sent 3 of his sons to the Marines. And I said, hey, this isn't our father's army anymore. This isn't our grandfather's army anymore, okay? You go over there thinking you're, you know, like I said, like you're going in there for all the right reasons, patriotic, defending your country, blah, blah, everything you've, you know, been brainwashed to think in all these movies for your first 18 years of your life, all right? You go in there and you see what it's really about. One minute you're fighting these ragheads. The next minute they're your friends. Oh, yeah, they're the Syrian rebels. These are the good guys. Hey, wait, weren't these the guys killing us a few years ago in Iraq? Yeah, but they're you know, they've had a change of heart. They're our friends now. So you have no idea. You can't even, the number one rule in, you know, in war, you can't even identify the enemy, okay? Then after that, if you manage to get out, after 5 tours now, and it used to be only 1 or 2 at the very most you're supposed to go to, you know, so you didn't have shell shock, which they now call post-traumatic stress disorder. Then they send you home. Then they strip you of your gun rights. Then you got to, you know, wait at the VA for 3 years to die because you can't even go in to see what the hell's wrong with you after they dump shit on your head and pumped you full of drugs. And, and then you put on this watch list. DHS, retired military, number one threat. I mean, I can't see what the benefit is. Oh, that GI Bill? I mean, I admire you guys for doing it. I do. I appreciate it. But, I just don't get it.
That's one thing we need to concentrate on.
Area code 972's got their hands up, guys. I'm going to break in real quick. Who is
hey, guys.
972?
This is Doug. Becky, how are you doing?
Hi, Doug. It's a pleasure to hear you pop up, brother. It's good to hear from you. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Hey, listen, guys, y'all are touching on a soft spot with me right here. I'm a veteran. Was sitting on the USS Squad in the middle of the Mediterranean about 10 days from Beirut in 1983 when the barracks blew up. The guards standing at the gates had little red blockades. Y'all know what I'm talking about, on the end of their M16s to show the enemy that we were actually just carrying them for art.
Joe. Yeah.
And
Joe.
I want to say this is Ronald Reagan signed my DD-214. And Barack Obama signed my son's DD-214. I sat my son down and apologized for that. That the VA system, the budget was $159 billion before the Arizona scandal broke, which has been happening everywhere. And I use the VA system. I'm one of 6.2 million veterans that use the VA system yearly.
I'm one of them.
They added $17 billion, just like our government, throw more money at it. They added $17 billion to that budget, that 159. You take that total number now, and, of course, we're at baseline budgeting, so once a number is thrown in there, it's always in there. You take that number and you divide it by the 6.2 million vets that use the system every year, and it's right close to $30,000 per vet per year. Guys, I'm here to tell you, I could have the best insurance, the best doctor on the planet for $30,000. Plus, if I called an insurance company, whoever it might be, and said, hey, how'd you like 6.2 million new customers? I'd like you to give them a real good price. We could shut down this damn bureaucracy is all it is. Believe me, guys, I am on the pain medication right now. And I'm on the pain medication because I cannot get the ailments fixed that I have. They postpone it. It doesn't matter if you have a stomach ache, you got to go get an x-ray first. It doesn't matter if you got a headache, you got to go get an x-ray first. I got pins in my hand because I had a torn ligament, and they put it off for 2 fucking years. And by the time they outsourced me to UT Southwestern here in Dallas, the doctor, a damn good doctor, said, I don't know what to tell you. He said, you have atrophy. You've been wearing a brace for 2 years. He said, atrophy is set into your ligaments, and they've turned into jelly. I'm a 50-year-old plumber, a father of 5. I work every day. I work today. I dug a ditch. I can't take this. I'm a Marine. I'm a father. I'm an American. Right now, my shoulder is, I would say, 90% completely gone.
Brother,
I have orders right now to go get an X-ray, and I didn't expect any difference.
Well, you know how the system works. You've been doing the system long enough. You should know how it works, sir.
What's that?
I said we've been playing along with the system. We all know how it works, and we kind of know how when you go to the VA where to go exactly first. You might as well go to the lab and get some blood work because they want your blood first too. Then your X-ray, then your MRI, and then sit and wait and meet your doctor, and then here's some medicine and go on home.
Yeah, I had the doctor tell me at the VA tell me that you might as well just get used to wearing that brace. I was like, hell no. You can tell the
I'm wearing braces right now myself.
They do not want to care for you. They do not want to do a damn thing.
I've been pretty lucky. The people I have take good care of me.
Have you ever looked at what their salaries are?
I don't care what their salaries are.
Yeah, I mean, they took the job.
That's what I'm saying.
You know, if I hire a guy for $8 an hour, I expect him to work the same as if I hired and paid him $40 an hour. If he didn't want to work for $8, don't work for $8. You know, I live the same way. If I tell somebody I'll fix a leak for $100 and it takes me 6 days to fix it, when I'm done, I'm going to charge them $100.
Good for you, sir.
You know, I'm so irate with this whole damn system. I'm in the fight, and I've spoke on Becky's show, a few times, and I got in on this late because I had to work today. But I want to ask you guys a question. Will there be an election in November of 2016?
Probably not if we surround the White House. Probably not when we surround the White House. Probably not.
I don't see it.
That's when I'm going to get all churchy on you because I'm also a preacher. Right now we have a series of events going on in the sky that most people who are familiar with it, that type of stuff, are familiar with it.
Yes.
Biblically, a lunar eclipse is a judgment on Israel. Biblically, a solar eclipse, which just happens to be in the middle during September, when the primaries kick off, happens to be a judgment against the Gentile nations.
Which is America.
That would be us, huh?
That would be us. Guess what?
Well, these
That's
blood moons.
Also, when
these blood moons.
Yes, exactly. And that's actually when the internet expires. That's also
one of them hasn't happened for like 3,000 years or something. And a little birdie.
Go ahead and talk. I hear you.
A little birdie told me that they're planning this jade thing at around September 15th with the last blood moon of these last four that's been happening. The very last one's around September 15th. So you might be looking for that. But
September 15th, that also coincides with the very day that the internet expires and the very day of the solar eclipse.
Well, I got an all-out alert. I'm a member of a militia group, and I'll leave the name out of it. But here in Texas, but I got the alert for September the 15th.
Exactly.
So
about a year and a half, I've been telling people watch what happens on September the 15th. Now, whether it's our complete downfall or not, that's going to depend on if this is 6 or if this is 7. Technically, you can trace them all the way back to 32 AD, and this is either 6 or 7, believe it, if you believe in what happened in France or not.
That's kind of the way I've been living my life. I talked to the man upstairs, and this is the way he's leading me, and that's what led me to this phone call tonight with y'all. So, I mean, we've all got here for a reason. And it's bigger than us, I can tell you that for sure.
I think it is.
Well, I still think there's going to be another selection. You know, I mean, George H.W. Bush in 91, You know, he gave his famous New World Order speech, blah, blah, blah. That's when he started handing over our sovereignty over to the United Nations. And, you know, he wanted one of his mongrels to put the capper on that pyramid on the back of his dollar bill. And so that's why I think everything's being set up for old Jeb. But, you know, that's just a feeling I got. But who knows? I mean, they can pull the plug at any time. Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
They've got everything. They've got everything set up. But they have been.
Well, how much do you put into how much do you put into Russia having all the troops up at the Arctic?
Well, I'm pretty sure.
Well, they have. There's all kinds of though.
I've done military operations where I've trained with foreign countries, so that's not unusual. What's unusual is the 41 ships and the 80,000 troops.
Over 200 bombs.
Yeah, the 200 planes, and you know that's
bombers, brother.
What's that?
Not just planes, bombers, brother.
Bombers. Well, I mean that's a little eccentric in any training operation.
No, we got an issue. It's actually an answer to the challenge. And most people don't realize what went on in Eastern Europe. Do I honestly think this idiot is pushing us to World War III or at least back to the Cold War era? Yes, I do. The day of Russia's Army Day. How much do you know about Russia?
Well, I keep falling back to the statement Obama said, "We'll wait till my second term and I'll be able to, the off mic comment."
Oh,
be a little more flexible.
Like I said, during the Ukraine, the ex-KGB agent kind of stabbed our president in the back when he wanted the Muslims rescued. So you can pretty much bet that's off. He also said he wasn't going to comply with any of the missile reduction no matter what Obama wanted to do, and Obama said he was going to go ahead with the missile reduction anyway. He's basically lowering our defenses. Here's the nice little pretty thing that happened that most people don't realize. The day of Russia's Army Day, their Army Day is about like our Independence Day. National celebration. They march the troops through the square of St. Petersburg, big, huge parade, big celebration. That day, our commander-in-chief decided to run 300 armored vehicles around in front of the border. In a little Eastern Europe country to show NATO solidarity. Now, why would you pick that day unless you were wanting to start a fight? To run 3 armored vehicles with complete missile complements and everything along the border? The same day is marching every single...
I think every action that they have done, well, even Obama, even Bush, but more in play with Obama, that every action that has taken place has been to try and incite, the American public into to rise up. I think they want us to rise up.
Exactly.
Exactly. And I think they also want Russia to rise up. They want China to rise up. They want all of these countries to get angry, but nobody is doing it. So nobody is actually getting riled up. What y'all were speaking of earlier, the lackadaisical mindset, or the person that has got himself locked in his own little world called his family and doesn't care about his country anymore, is so true to fact. I'm 5 hours from Austin, Texas, And I've drove to Austin, Texas 5 times in the last 6 months, and drove out of state to the Capitol in Oklahoma to protest. But when I show up at these protests with great speakers scheduled, I see 40 people show up. And there's just not the uprising that matter of fact, in April,
that goes back to some of what Becky was saying earlier. You know,
April the 15th, the Tea Party is having their national rally at the Capitol, the South Steps of the Capitol here in Texas. And I will be surprised if it's the Tea Party and they're having a huge get-together. And they have a list of speakers that are going to speak there April the 15th. And I doubt there's 100 people show up. And it's going to be the same people I see every time.
That goes back to some of what Becky said, though. The cost, I mean, I can't afford to drive to Austin every time since they've been in session. Luckily, they're only in session for a short period of time every other year. But, you know, we can't afford all these trips and stuff like that. I'm on disability. We can't afford trips like that and the hotels and that stuff. You know, I ran for office. I couldn't afford to go to the national or the state convention because it was going to cost me $300 in a hotel. You take that out of mine plus the rent. I mean, I can't afford to do that or belong to all the memberships that everybody wants me to be a member of. So that's
right.
Some of the problems of getting us there. And some of it is people have jobs. They do have their other lives. And some of us feel that there's nothing. If we don't, what are we doing? We're not getting anything accomplished. I've signed 1,000 petitions. I've sent 100 letters to my congressman, and nothing changes. So what's the point? I just need to go and worry about my own.
I hear you, man. But I remember in high school reading about one of our founding fathers that his 2 sons were still back in Britain, and his sons were taken into custody, and their lives were put up. And it may have been Washington. That you stop your forward march or we will take your sons. I can't remember who it was.
It's probably one of those 56 dudes.
He wrote back a letter and said, I'm sorry, I cannot do this. And his 2 sons, we don't have that person. I mean, we do, but they're us on the radio show right now. We have those people that are willing to give all to save this great country. But the masses, that is where the 3% come from. You know, the 3% are us.
And back to the Red, White, and Blue Fest, which the whole show was about, that's where we're going to gather and we're going to discuss this in May, which is before the Jade Helm starts and before the next election. So that's why we're trying to get it. Now, of course, I've alluded to the leaders to be afraid because of just like the Republic of Texas got raided down here at the local VFW in Texas. So, I mean, some leaders are going to be a little hesitant to all gather in one spot, is my opinion, too. I worry about that.
Oh, I'm right there with you. They don't want to, you know, what was her name that stood up on Islam, that Molly White. Are you familiar with her here in Texas? Yeah, she's a representative in Central Texas, Molly White. And in Muslim days, she required that they pledge allegiance, you know, to the American flag, and they denounce Islam on Muslim Day before they could come into her office and see how things operated. Well, she caught flack and never backed down. And there were hundreds of thousands of Texans that stood with her. But the problem is that we don't have our elected officials that will stand up and actually speak what is on their mind. They are few and far between. And the well-oiled machine that is the Communist Party or the Democrat Party are so well put together, they put out the call and they are hammered for the first time that they stand up. It's the same thing that a simple store owner has to deal with. If, you know, he thinks in his mind that half of his customers are Democrats and half are Republicans, so he can't be political one way or the other. I have a company. It's very small, and I work for myself, but I plaster my American pride all over my vehicle, and I talk to my customers about, politics. I'm not shy about it. And if somebody is offended by it, I don't need their money that bad. I'll walk out of their house.
Can't do that. They'll get you for what you own your own business. You have to serve everybody. You can't deny nobody service.
Yes, I can.
Yeah, I know you can, and that you're right. That's my opinion. But the federal government's telling us we can't.
Well, he can kiss my ass. Amen. I'll take it to spring forward.
Amen. Amen to that, sir.
I mean, it's simple business. It's it's not toilet or plumbing, but it's my choice to. I remember the signs, as a kid, that we reserved the right, to serve, and America hasn't changed. The only thing that has changed is that the political engine that is this Communist Party that has moved in here. And well, they've always been here, but they've blown up, and they're feeling more and more power, and they've taken over, the education, the whole media market, and our government. They've completely overtaken it, and the politicians that we elect to office today, they fear that media, and why in the hell they get on, they go to these damn interviews. Just say no. I don't want to interview. I'm already elected. I don't want to interview. If go to Raging Elephant. Go to one of the other websites. The news media will pick it up and share it. But don't go to them when you know they are the enemy. I cannot understand why they go there, and they're made to look like idiots when they do these interviews.
Yeah, well, I have no response to that one. I agree. You see Rand Paul and Ted Cruz, all of them, every day on their little news spot, on their favorite channels, on all the MSMs.
Rick, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and announce one more time the Red, White, and Blue event, where it will be held, and how folks can get a hold of you that are interested in helping to organize that. And, again, I would like to suggest that your group set up a Skype system for the members. We'll start directing traffic to a common page where we can start trying to get all parties from all pages to focus on that one page so that we can collectively organize. We've got to do something.
Amen.
We can't keep doing what we're doing. Time is not on our side. I believe this is biblical, but I also believe that I am a warrior for Christ. I believe God has put a burden in my heart to get out and do what I'm doing, or I wouldn't be doing it, and I do it without fear. I know that sounds like I'm boasting. I'm not. God did not give us a spirit of fear, but he gave us one of boldness, and I'm exercising my right as a king's kid to be bold in this battle. So please announce one more time the Red, White, and Blue event, what date, what time, where, and give them a website to go to or a page that they can collectively go to, and we can start bringing people together.
All right, Miss Becky, it's the Red, White, and Blue Fest. It's a National Patriot Rally. It's going to be from May 1st through to May 3rd. That's 3 days, and it's 2015. And that's in Sunny Hill, Florida. It's just north of Panama, over there in the panhandle of Florida. Mr. Steve Gronka is the producer. Bill Williams, so Top Fuel Bill Williams, he's the one that came up with the 2 Million Bikers to D.C. ride. That's his pipe dream. He's one of the co-producers, and Ms. Zeta Andrews is a co-producer of this event also. You can go to constitutionalpatriots.org, and that's where all the information is available. And I've got We the People United is on Facebook. I just started that at the first of the year, and you can go there also.
All right, folks, you heard him. That's our brother Rick. Doug McDougall, brother, I have the utmost respect for you, and I absolutely love it when you show up on my board. You're an amazing individual. You bring so much to the table, and God bless you again for your service. For the rest of the panel, Joel, Steve, Karen, Libby, Keith, Scott Farello, everybody that showed up today, you are everything to me. You and the listeners are what makes my show possible. I thank you very much. I want to say thank you. I will have a show on tomorrow. I am in this afternoon. I'll be creating the show for tomorrow. It'll be at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. I invite you all back tomorrow if you'd like to come. We're going to have a new audience and the current audience obviously participating tomorrow. I'm not sure what I'm going to set the subject for, but I'm sure I'll be covering current events, what we're looking at, and hopefully bringing great minds together to find a resolution to avoid revolution. NSA, take that back to your boss and get off my phone. And right. I want to say God bless you. God bless America. Thank you guys for coming. This is Becky Williams at Rage Against the Regime. Y'all have a blessed night.
Thank you. Bye.
You too. Amen.
Amen.
All right. Good night.